Welcome back to English 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the program. Welcome to the advanced portion of class number 158. And today I don't have any listener comments. I've been taking some listener comments. It seems most of them have been appearing in the intermediate portion. So, you advanced listeners, if you have any questions, write in. Give me something to give you feedback on. If you have questions, if you're not sure about something, write in. You can send in an email to, you can either go through the website, voningles.com, or you can write to me, Miller, K-M-I-L-L-A-R, at Vausys, VAUSYS.com. If you have any questions about content, preferably something that you think the rest of the listeners could benefit from as well, and hopefully something related specifically to the course, particularly something we've seen lately in these classes, be sure to write in, and I'll do my best to cover it, to bring it up. So let's go back to the material from the last class. We talked about the phrasal verb to go about doing something. Now, I must admit I tried to put on my best American accent there because, the best way to tell a Canadian from an American is the pronunciation of the O-U-T. We say out, and in the United States they say out, about, and I say out, about. So yes, we are famous for that pronunciation. So I would say, yes, to go about doing something. So we're using the question word how. How do you go about doing that? How did he go about setting the record? How did he go about doing that? How did he go about becoming so good? How did they go about fixing the printer? Ask me how I went about explaining the process. Kyle, how did you go about explaining the process? How did you go about explaining the process? Well, it was difficult. How did you go about doing it? I had to simplify it. How did I go about explaining the process? I went about it by simplifying it. Sometimes when you give presentations, it's important to simplify things. I remember I gave a presentation once. I studied an MBA. I did an MBA in Canada, Master's in Business Administration in Canada, and I had a thesis paper. Really, it was a research. It was called a business research project that I spent a long time preparing, and it was funny because I had a due date. I had a due date for the report, for the written document, and I was told, oh yes, there will be presentations, but the presentations will be after the due date. And then I remember it was a Friday afternoon. I still had about a week before the thesis was due, and I was leaving the university. And the coordinator of the MBA program, or one of the director, or one of the people involved in the management of the program said, "Oh, Kyle, by the way, you saw the email last week, right, about your thesis presentation on Monday." And I said, "Monday?" I had no idea. I had no idea that I had to present my thesis on the Monday. The thesis wasn't done, much less the presentation. So let's just say it was an uncomfortable situation, but I said, okay. So I went home and I spent the weekend. Needless to say, I spent the weekend, preparing. Kyle, how did you go about preparing for it? Coming back to today's structure. Well, I focused. I spent the whole week working on it. let's be honest here. I spent the whole weekend preparing for my thesis presentation, and what I did is I simplified the presentation because my topic was it was fairly complex. It was a financial analysis topic. I was assessing I was analyzing the performance of stock markets in emerging economies, emerging markets. So I was looking at the performance of stock markets in places like India, Russia, China, Brazil, Argentina, Morocco, Korea, South Korea, different emerging markets, and I used financial portfolio design theory to construct an investment portfolio containing investments in these countries, in the stock markets of these countries, and I then looked at the risk and how well risk can be reduced through diversification. I don't want to get too technical here, but I looked at the performance of these portfolios of investments in these markets, and I knew that I would be giving the presentation to a mixed audience, an audience who was, well, some of the people in the audience would be students in the MBA program, but also professors in the MBA program. But there were professors in, marketing and different fields who didn't necessarily have a background in financial analysis. So I didn't want to, let's say, insult their intelligence in a way. I didn't want to get so technical that people would be confused. I wanted to bring it down to a level that everyone could understand. And what I did, I really simplified it, and I made it easy for everyone to understand. So that's how I went about doing it. And as a result, they asked some questions. They asked some fairly simple questions. And the presentation was a success, and I got a good mark. And the university published my research. This is a true story. So if you go back to Canada, if you go to my university, which was called St. Mary's University, you can find it in their library. You can find it maybe in a few other places. I don't know. Well, you can find it at my house. I have a copy. I don't think my mother has a copy. But how did I go about presenting this material to a mixed audience? Because I found it challenging, but I realized I have to just make sure that everyone understands and make the material seem entertaining. And I actually came to some interesting conclusions with that research, and it was interesting. Anyway, so how did I go about doing something, to go about plus gerund, to go about telling her? How did you go about telling her the bad news? How did you go about getting a job there? How did you go about making such a delicious dinner, for example? To go about plus gerund. All right, let's move on now and take a look at our translation list. Translation. Yes, it is time for translation list number 57. Moving along through the lists, we only have a few left. So let's get down to business here with list number 57. Number 1. Nuestra reciente campaña de ventas ha sido un éxito. En voz alta, ¿cómo es? Our recent sales campaign has been a success. Our recent sales campaign has been a success. Number 2, estoy satisfecho con tu actuación. I'm satisfied with your performance. I'm satisfied with your performance. Very good. Number 3, tu rendimiento ha sido por debajo de la media. Rendimiento, okay, otra vez. Actuación, rendimiento, performance again. Your performance has been por debajo de la media, below average. Your performance has been below average. Number 4. Si no hubieras tenido tanta prisa. If you hadn't been in such a hurry. If you hadn't been in such a hurry. To be in a hurry. Tener prisa. To be in a hurry. Number 5. Habrá una fiesta de despedida para ti. There will be a farewell party for you. Goodbye. So long, old friend. There will be a farewell party for you. Number 6. Por lo tanto, puedes contar con mi apoyo. Por lo tanto. Therefore. That's right. Therefore, you can count on my support. Contar con. To count on. You can count on my support. Number 7. Somos el número 1 en nuestro sector. We're number 1 in our industry. We're number 1 in our industry. Yes, sector. There is such a thing as sector. But we normally, when you say sector, we usually say industry in English. Okay? Industry. We're number 1 in our industry. Number 8. Todos se beneficiarán de esta decisión. Everyone will benefit from this decision. Everyone will benefit from this decision. Number 9. No solo tú, sino tu gente también. Not only you, but your people as well. Not only you, but your people as well. Number 10. Me pondré en contacto contigo de nuevo para confirmar los detalles. I'll contact you again to confirm the details. I'll contact you again to confirm the details. Number 11. ¿Cómo puedes ver en la copia adjunta? Sorry, not a question. Maybe my intonation wasn't great there. ¿Cómo puedes ver en la copia adjunta? ¿Cómo puedes ver aquí? ¿Cómo puedes ver? As you can see in the enclosed copy, Number 12, last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, el éxito requiere paciencia. El éxito requiere paciencia. That's true. Very true. Patience. Well, el éxito, success requires patience. Success, it's true. Success requires patience. You have to be patient if you want to be successful. Yeah. Expression of the day. Oh, yeah, you heard it, folks. It's time for the expression of the day. Our expression of the day today, to be dressed to the nines. To the nines, like the number 9. To the nines. To be dressed to the nines means to be very well dressed. Very formal attire, wearing a suit and tie. If you're a man, or maybe even a tuxedo. Or, if you're a woman, a nice dress or a nice gown. To be dressed to the nines. I'm not dressed to the nines right now. No, I'm dressed quite casually at the moment. I'm not dressed to the nines. No. All right, let's move on now and take a look at our next point. We have the structure here to refuse to compromise on something, to refuse to compromise. Well, actually, it's the structure to compromise. The first example here in the book. They refused to compromise on anything. Se negaron a ceder. en nada. They refused to compromise on anything. So we have the structures here. The verb comprometer, which can be to compromise, or it can also be to commit. So to compromise and to commit. So to compromise is when, well, really, I didn't want to do that, but I had to compromise. We have to make, if we want to reach an agreement, I'm going to have to compromise. I'm going to have to settle. I'm going to have to change my desires a little bit. I can't have exactly what I want. I'm going to have to compromise. So we compromise. Whereas to commit, or to commit yourself to something, is comprometerse. I had to commit myself to learning English. You have to commit yourself to learning English. You have to make a commitment. Comprometerse. Okay? Have you committed yourself to a lot of new things this year? Have you committed yourself to this course? If you want to learn, you're going to have to commit yourself to it. Is it a big commitment? Well, this course, doing it thoroughly, listening every day, watching the television every day, studying the content every day, it's a big commitment. It is. It is a big commitment if you want to do it well. Yes. Do you think we compromise sometimes when we make deals? Of course we do. When we make deals, acuerdos, when we make agreements and deals, sometimes in business, for example, you have to compromise. Sometimes you can't always get what you want. That's what Mick Jagger says. But you just might find you get what you need, he says. A little bit about compromising there sometimes. You can't always get exactly what you want, but if you compromise a little bit, maybe you'll get what you need. I want to talk about this a bit more, but we're going to run out of time, so let's quickly move on and talk about the vocabulary of the day. Vocabulary of the day. All right, it is time for the vocabulary of the day. Our first word, encuesta, sondeo. Here we say survey, survey. So we can take a survey to judge public opinion. Golondrina is the next word, golondrina. Oh, yes, that bird, that is a swallow. Swallow. Cisne, cisne. This is a swan. You can see swans, I believe, in the Retiro Park here. Reventar. Reventar. To burst. B-U-R-S-T. Burst, like the balloon. It will burst. Aliviar. Aliviar. To relieve. What a relief. I feel relieved. The class is over. What a relief. Or maybe it's a disappointment that it's over because I'd like to continue. We have so much more to talk about, but we're going to have to leave it until tomorrow. We'll practice with the idea of compromise and commit. We'll practice with that and get to the last point, all in our review tomorrow, and some new material, a new list, so much more. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.